Let's go to one more chart, what I call bottom up. I start with the 5 second and then went all the way up. This is what I want to center in, especially for turning point type trades. And when you get into days like today where we're grinding higher like this, you get in trouble trying to sell some of this up on top. But let's bring up the hourly chart now. So the hourly chart here, algos are suggesting stay up into that last hour and then potentially fade in the last hour. I've talked about tie into PPM understanding. Is right now we're above that first derivative. Here's the second derivative. If we wait for it to cross the second derivative, this trade's going to be over. That's sort of once you get to the peak, you're looking to these other charts, the 1-5, as a potential for an entry point off of those charts. Using the hourly chart is there value that's coming in? And then you're looking at, as we get into the close today, it's trying to challenge the first derivative. Like I said, once we get the next hour of data, where are we at? We're 1 minute away. So let's stay here and see what happens. We just got the update, I think. Yeah, so we just got the update. Here's the new bar. And there's still, it flattened, it didn't turn down. So it looks like we got another hour up in here. And that'll take us into the final hour. So it looks like one more hour with an upward bias, but that doesn't mean we aren't going to trade between this scalp point here, which RTX, we're above RTX right now, that we probably come back to RTX. That's probably what I'm going to be looking at here. But you can see the peak in the PPM1 is saying one more hour. We're looking at around the same in PPM2, PPM3 on the 40. That's way down here. That's really just trying to roll up. So I'm going to draw in something here now that we've gotten to this point. Actually, this was the big trade right here. This is the classic 1, 2, 3 trade that I'll show you. And we might just use this chart to demonstrate that as we go through this. But that swing, we could probably take a lot of indicators off here, throw on the pattern finder and find that 1-2 pattern. But let's just stick with this right now. So what's likely to happen here is the market grid is going to probably do this. You're probably going to get, this is probably into the close. You're going to see it contract, and then we should consolidate up here. It doesn't look like there's one of these where we get a couple bars up here and then it's going to come down. This upward slope on this 10 is very positive. We're looking at 1.22. Now, 0.25 is bullish. Over here, 1.22, just value there on PPM1 is actually telling you that this is a very powerful trend. And the worst case that's going to happen is you're going to trade sideways in there. We're day traders right now. So what we're doing right now, what I'm setting you up for is I'm giving you the concept and the idea of where we currently are and what's possible right now. So I'm thinking right now, if I've watched these numbers so much, I'm thinking, like I said, market grid starts to collapse in. This is sort of like we were talking about the difference between Bollinger Bands and the market grid. This is a pure market volatility. The Bollinger Bands are working out standard devs. What is likely to happen, we got this expansion. I want to expand this out so we can see this whole pattern just a little bit better. So we're going to, as we look at the bars, I'm going to draw this pattern back in again. I like to anticipate what's likely to happen. You can see over here on the far right where I'm drawing some arrows. Over here, you got what I call a volatility bubble. We're getting the same thing, although you had a nice channel. We actually got an RTX sell here, but we're following through. This is hourly. And my expectation is that this market grid does something like this. This is the scenario. Formation ends up to be like a dragon head, and they typically will continue higher. Point is here is that what we're looking at on an intraday basis, we're probably at an extreme. If we were to look at where we are, maybe we get to R1, R2 on this hour. That's also in play. We're looking at the PPM1 still looking to uptick for the next hour. We've got 3 hours up that we get one more hour up, and then we backfill a little bit. And I don't think we get below this bar low. From a day trader standpoint, we set up theoretical range, what we're expecting to happen. And we were starting this morning, this bar here is where I was scalping off the short side this morning. Let's go to all of the screens now and see if I can tie this together. So we got our 5-second chart, we got our 1 minute chart. So while I was doing that 1 minute played through its entire scenario that we were looking at, bring in the perspective of how to correlate these charts. On the 1 minute, we've got projections up to high target 33, 44, 33, 44, 39, 44, 43. And you can see we have an upward slope. What we were looking at a little bit ago, I was talking about coming through the 10, through the 21, down to the 40. That's basically what happened. While I was going through all the explanation, I'm just pulling this over so you can see this just a little better. If you recall, we were trading just above the 10, that the algos were projecting that we're going to see downside in the 10, 21. So we should roll down to the 40. So there was a scalp trade up there at that 21 number when we first started this scenario. When we see this kind of setup here, that was the trade down to the 40 on a 1 minute chart. And that would have potentially yielded you, let's say you got in at 21, down to the 40 is puts you down around 18, maybe 17 here on the lows. Yeah, 18 was about all it got. So it's very short. It's probably about 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But now we're looking back and look what's happening. The algos are now forecasting, and you can see the forecast on the WTR. So we have the SMA prediction going on here. There's an angle of attack. Looks like a retest of the highs coming of a trade here. Basically, what we were talking about there actually happened. Let's go over to the 5. 5 minute, we were talking about a little negative here, but we're holding the 10. You still have an angle of attack here. So that trend is still up. We still have these valid fib targets up here. Seem kind of wild that we're going to print 34. That's a pretty big number. You can see that trend. All 3 of these moving averages just on the 5 minute are all up. So the last thing you want to do is try to get cute and scalp on the short side. You want to try to maybe buy the 21, and it looks like the 10 and 21 want to weaken that, but you have basically an upslope. I don't see us getting below whatever the 21 is. We just got an update, and if you notice, the algos kind of turned down a little bit. So we just got a 5 minute update, and the trends are starting to drop down. We're printing basically what the high of the day, get that 21 number. So there's like a 3.5 handle number there from that standpoint. I'm going to go to TradeStation here. We're trading the high of the day. Let's talk about the order book. I'm putting in some live orders just above the market here. Let's see if order filled. Okay, I just got filled on one. What I'm looking for is just a little scalp back into the range here. The algos on the 5-second chart, I can tell you what's going on, are projecting a little higher numbers here. I'm going to join this offer up here. There's 255 at 44.24. And then at the even numbers, there tends to be some fairly big orders. I've got 10 on right now. I'm just trying to scalp out. I've got a lot orders, but this is the interesting thing. You have to be careful at these highs. This is one of the extreme trades. When you get to these extremes, if you walk in the morning and they're trading okay, I just got filled on one of the orders. See if I get filled on the other. Just a quick scalp. And I'm actually, yeah, I got 5 more. I'm just going to close them out. Order filled. So I just made a few bucks there. See, we're getting this volatility bubble here on the market grid. This is the same thing that's in here, just that I can't display both and trade at the same time. So what we're looking at is getting up at the upper end. So what I can tell you on the screens, what you have is right now, we're trading at the high end of the daily projections at just above RTX. 1 minute chart I'm looking at here is probably 3 or 4 minutes from potentially rolling over. I'm actually got some live orders in here. I'm trying to I'm trying to get short here. I missed it. I caught it for 5. Okay, I got 10 on. But so what's happening with the 5 second is we're below the 200. We're waffling. Looks like we're going to stay below. We got the magic 16 probability. So I just have to describe this best I can. The 1 minute is potentially rolling over. The 5 minute shows that we could have about a 5 to 10 minute downfall, like at least 2 bars. But the PPM, we're at PPM 1 on the 5 minute is at 0.15. A lot easier if we had a set of rules. I will formulate that. So I've just got a couple of scalp orders in here, but this high-end pattern here, we're getting this pretty big volatility level here. And I'm going to show you a couple of patterns here, and then I'll try to find them on TradingView as well. But we'll go through and try to set up an if and on this step by step. And matter of fact, so the 5 second right now is flatlined. I got a little negative trade going here right now. It's like we got a little shot for just a touch weakness. We've been kind of locked in this 20, 21 range. So we'll see if we can get a little bit of downside here. It looks like there's some reasonable potential print down to 2075, 2050, something like that. Let's do exactly if we can put kind of a sequence together. Yeah, so let's talk about liquidity while we're watching this trade here. This order book right now, there's 76 by 75, fairly thin. You see at 225, there's 219. If you can see my cursor up here with the hand, there's 219 for sale at 23.25. We go down below, pretty thin. There's not any big bids, but about 119 right at 21.50. Patterns, what I'm seeing here on the 5 second, we're trading right at we're waffling on either side of the 200 period moving average on the 5 second. 1 minute's got some new upward projection. So this is probably going to end up costing me money to get out of here. So still some light projections down for the market to move back to around 21, 25. I may be able to scratch this trade. Yeah, I got 15 on, so let me get rid of that. If I can pull off a scratch trade, if they make a new high, then we got 236 for sale here, 268. Yeah, from the 5 second, we're printing the high of the day. There we go, trying to print through. Now there's 402 for sale at 24, almost 500 for sale at 24. So a pretty big order. Actually pulling that bid, that break-even bid. I'm going to try to make some money on this trade. So yeah, that big seller shows up. There's 470 at 24 even. Everybody backed off that a little bit. I might be getting a little greedy. I think I can actually pull some money out of this. The 1 minute now is below the 200, kind of rounding off, trying to forecast back over the 200, but it's weakening a little bit along with the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I'll show you these charts as soon as I get out of this trade, and then we'll set up a set of rules. I think it's an awesome idea. Yeah, the 5 seconds kind of indicating sideways, few hundreds right at 22.50. So we're trading right at it right now. This is interesting because if we trade down below the low here that I have my cursor on, we're setting up what I call a veil top. And I'll explain this in a minute. So we're just a couple of ticks away from exiting this. 5 second is forecasting little lower prices, trying to be patient here. A 5 second still forecasting a little weaker prices, just looking for a 20.50 to get out of this trade. Make $812 on it. One more click. There it goes. Perfect. All right. Awesome. Probably early. I just wanted to get out of that trade. This formation, I call this a potential veil. We bounced pretty good. What you can't have, this veil tends to be a top here. And let me show you. Here's one right here where everything rolls over and then it starts to get crosses here. So you see the linear regressions get real tight. That tells you have a strong trend as we were trading up into 21 the first time before we made this last high. Then everything rolled over. And it's almost like if you look at this, it's a water flow. And that's why we call that market flow indicator. And then once you see crosses, when the shorter linears start to cross the longer ones, Those are typically bottoming formations. And then you can see here, I could have stayed short. Looks like a pretty decent top that's forming here. So we got this rolling flow here, basically sold into that. What we watch for now is it going to cross over? Is it going to roll over big? Because what can happen here is it can roll over and have an inverse where it gets going down so strong that all the linears go together into a rope. Look what we got. If this was going to be a big roll over here on the chart, we would not have got this V bottom on these. All of a sudden it's turned up. Likely we're going to go, the 5-second was projecting the market to turn around. Man, I wish there was a way I could show you all this. I've been trying to figure out a way to get a camera on, because I'm actually trading on this screen, looking at the big monitors over here on my right. It's unfortunate. But that's a scalper mentality. I think I probably grabbed a couple grand there without trying very hard and a couple quick scalps. And now we're looking at probably setting up sideways range. You see market grid expanded back. We got crossovers here. We probably just get a choppy market. Let's go back to the screen and see a couple of things I want to try to do here. All right, so let's go back to that setup. The next phase we'll do, I just want to show you the scalper setup, how all this ends up coming together. And so let's go here. This is what I was talking about a few minutes ago, and then let's try to put a rule of how this stuff should be reviewed. This is what I was looking at. Forecast was showing me that the market was going to come down, and you can see, maybe you can see off on the far right, my cursor's at 44.20. That's pretty much where it forecasted. That's where I had my order to buy back on that short trade. We're looking at the actual here, but the forecast was showing that we're going to go back over the 200 and move up. So now you can see here, we're kind of forecasting. They're actually giving you for the next time we trade up to 22.50, you probably could have put that same scalp on again, okay? And that would have been easy to do.